You know that feeling when you see a painting and it seems to just glow?
Hmm.
It's not like paint on a canvas. It feels like there's a light source behind it shining through.
Luminosity, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the holy grail for so many artists. It makes the art feel alive.
Exactly. And you assume it's some kind of, I don't know, magic. But today we're doing a deep dive into the studio of the gran artista Laura Palacios.
And her whole philosophy, which we're seeing through the materials from Grupo RAIIM, is that it's not magic at all. It's engineering. It's constructed.
We're going to deconstruct her process for this massive 1 meter wide floral piece. And it's really a masterclass in this idea of constructed light.
Right. And it all begins with something that I think most people would just skip right over.
The canvas itself. She starts with this huge, intimidating Phoenix box canvas.
A big blank canvas. And the very first thing she does is she kills the white.
She doesn't trust the gesso that comes on it.
No, it's cold. It's sterile. So she mixes her own warm white. It's a recipe.
Yeah.
Titanium white, a good amount of yellow ochre, and then just a tiny speck of permanent red.
And she doesn't even use a brush to put it on, which surprised me. She uses a sponge.
Yeah, or rubber foam.
Yeah.
Because she wants an ironed look. Brushes leave tiny ridges, you know.
Brush strokes.
Exactly. She wants it perfectly smooth. But, and this is the key, the color isn't flat. She uses a technique she calls marmolada, marbling.
This is where, while it's still wet, she adds these little touches of extra red or ochre.
Precisely. It creates this subtle marbled vibration in the background. So the whole canvas has a color temperature before a single flower is even drawn.
The maestra Laura Palacios says this makes the whole painting speak the same language.
It unifies it from the very start.
And you know, there's a really practical reason for this base layer, too. I was reading the Grupo RAIIM notes and had a real aha moment.
The drawing part.
Yes. If you draw with a pencil on raw canvas and make a mistake,
you're done. The graphite gets smudged into the fabric weave. It's a permanent stain.
But on this dried acrylic base she's created,
it's sealed. So if she sketches the flower and doesn't like a line,
she just takes a damp cloth and wipes it away.
Clean slate. It's a safety net. It removes the fear of making a mistake right at the start.
So, okay, the base is dry. She uses a hairdryer to speed it up. The flower is sketched on. Now you'd think, okay, time for the red paint.
The intuitive next step.
But she doesn't do that.
No, she doesn't touch the color yet. That'd be like putting up drywall before the frame is built.
Yeah.
Cover up that glowing foundation you just made.
So instead, she paints the shadows first.
She constructs the darkness. She starts with raw umber.
Tiers sombre natural.
That's the one. And she dilutes it way down with water, so the acrylic acts like a watercolor.
And she's using a synthetic flat brush for this, a number 16.
Right. And she applies these thin, transparent washes only in the areas that will eventually be in shadow.
It's like you're building volume, not painting color.
I like to think of it like stacking sunglasses.
Oh, I like that.
You put on one pair, the world gets a little darker. You add another, it gets darker still.
But you can still see through them.
You can still see through them. The light source is still there, just filtered. Laura Palacios is building form by stacking these transparent layers.
So the light isn't white paint, she adds later. The light is literally the warm canvas shining through the thin layers of brown.
You got it. She's not adding light. She's sculpting the darkness around the light that's already there.
That is such a different mindset. You're preserving the light, not painting it on top.
Protecting it. But, you know, eventually the raw umber isn't dark enough.
Yeah.
For the real deep shadows, you need more contrast.
And this is where the gran artista has a very, very firm rule I saw in the notes. No black paint.
Ever. Zero black.
Which seems so weird. If you want something dark, what's darker than black?
It's the obvious choice, but she argues it's the wrong one. She calls black paint invasive.
Invasive.
Yeah. It creates a dead spot, a hole in the painting where the light just stops. It kills the vibration of the other colors.
So what's the alternative? How does she get that deep, rich darkness?
She uses a very specific color, Payne's gray.
Gris to Payne. Why is that better?
Because Payne's gray isn't actually a neutral gray. It has a deep blue base.
Ah, okay.
So think back to our base layer. It was warm, right?
Yeah.
Yellows, ochres, reds.
Basically orange, yeah.
So what happens when you mix blue and orange?
They cancel each other out. They neutralize.
They neutralize. So when she layers this transparent blue-based Payne's gray over that warm orange-based underpainting, they optically mix and create this incredibly rich chromatic darkness.
So it looks black, but it's alive because it's made of color.
It has air in it. It's a volume dial, not an off switch. That's a great way to put it.
And she's applying this in thin layers, too, letting each one dry. And Grupo RAIIM points out something really practical here about her process.
The drying time.
Yeah, this sounds like it would take forever.
It would, with oils.
Yeah.
But this is where the medium really matters. Laura Palacios explains that acrylics dry by evaporation. The water just leaves the paint.
Which means you can speed it up.
You can cheat. She uses a hairdryer.
The secret weapon of the studio.
It is. She can blast a layer dry and then immediately apply the next one. But she gives a huge warning. Do not try this with oil paint.
Why not?
Because oil dries by oxidation. It's a
Wrong.
chemical reaction with the air. Heat just creates a dry skin on top while the inside stays wet. It would ruin it.
Okay, so this is a very specific acrylic technique.
Exactly.
So let's recap where we are. We have a marbled, warm base. We have layers of raw umber for the mid-shadows and layers of Payne's gray for the deep shadows.
And at this point, the painting looks like a fully three-dimensional sculpture of a flower. But it's monochrome. Sepia and blue.
The maestro calls it a monochrome sculpture at this stage. It has volume, but it's dark. Now she has to bring the light back up.
Right, because all those washes have maybe dulled the brightest parts a little. So she goes back to that original warm white mixture.
The titanium and ochre.
Yes. And now she starts actively painting the highlights, reinforcing the light.
So she's pushing the contrast from both ends now, darker darks and now lighter lights.
And this is where she goes from the general to the specific. Laura Palacios explains that with every layer, she's forcing the eye to find smaller and smaller details. The tiny ridges on a petal, the little veins.
So now it looks real, like photoreal, but it's still just beige and gray.
It has value, but no color as we think of it.
Which brings us to the magic trick, the explosion of color. How does this thing become a vibrant red-orange flower?
Well, this is the point where a lot of people would just ruin all that hard work.
They just mix up some thick red paint and slap it on.
And it would cover everything. It'll look flat, like a piece of plastic.
Hmm.
Instead, Laura Palacios uses the technique of veladoras.
Glazing.
Glazing. It's the secret sauce. She takes colors like burnt sienna and red oxide, but she dilutes them down so they're incredibly thin, like colored water.
Just a whisper of color. And she paints this over the whole flower.
The entire thing.
Wait, even over the dark shadows she just spent all that time building.
Over everything.
But doesn't that just turn the shadows into a muddy brown?
No, it transforms them. Think of it like this. If you have a black and white photograph and you lay a sheet of red cellophane over it.
The white parts look bright red and the black parts look dark red.
Exactly. The underlying structure, the lights and the darks, it's all still there. But now it's all bathed in this rich, transparent color.
So the Payne's gray shadows become this deep, cool red, and the warm white highlights become this brilliant, glowing orange red.
And that's the glow. That's the physics of it.
Yeah.
Light travels through the red glaze, hits that warm white base underneath, and bounces back to your eye.
It's being lit from behind.
It's optical mixing, not physical mixing. You're looking through color to the light source. It creates a depth you could never get by just mixing red and black on a palette.
Wow. That's the real aha moment. The color is the filter that the light travels through.
Precisely.
So the flower's glazed, it's vibrant, it's glowing. We must be done.
Almost. There is one last crucial step. The gran artista calls it the ajuste de cuentas.
The settling of accounts sounds final.
It's the perfectionist's final touch. See, after you've applied all those transparent glazes, you've softened everything a little.
Right. The absolute brightest whites are now tinted red.
And the deepest darks are maybe a little less deep. The overall contrast has dropped just a tiny bit.
It's lost its punch.
Exactly. So she goes back in one last time with a tiny brush.
And does what?
A tiny dot of that warm white on the absolute highest highlight, the brightest specular reflection, and a tiny touch of pure Payne's gray in the absolute deepest crack or crevice.
She reestablishes the two extreme ends of the spectrum.
She restores the snap, and that's what makes the final image pop while keeping all that layered depth underneath.
It's just an incredible journey, from that blank canvas to the marbled base to building shadows with diluted umber,
Projecting black for a blue-based gray.
sculpting the light, and then glazing everything with color. It's a process of construction, not just painting.
And the key lesson from Laura Palacios and Grupo RAIIM here is that the glow isn't something you add at the end. It's the light you preserved from the beginning.
You don't paint light, you build the darkness around it.
You protect it.
That really changes how you look at a painting. It makes you think about all the decisions that went into it.
You know, it reminds me of, well, this whole process from the maestro has me thinking about how we form opinions.
How so?
We tend to live in a world of opaque paint. We see something, we make a quick judgment, and we cover it with one thick, solid opinion. It's fast, but it's flat.
There's no depth to it.
Right. But this method, it's about glazing. It's about layering thin, transparent perspectives over time,
Yeah.
letting each one dry, seeing how it tints the layers beneath.
It takes more patience.
A lot more. But the end result is something that has depth, something that glows. What if we tried to understand things that way?
Layering perspectives instead of just stating opinions, that's a really powerful thought to leave with.
I think so.
Well, the next time you're in a museum or even just looking at art, try to find the glow. See if you can spot the layers. A huge thank you to Maestra Laura Palacios and Grupo RAIIM for these incredible teachings.
A true masterclass.
And thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Go make something one layer at a time. We'll see you next time.